everyone, I'm the okayest bassist, and this video is a New Year, post-year wrap-up video. A lot of the other bass tubers do it. I decided, hey, it's an extra video. I can put in my follow-up thoughts on the instruments that I've tried throughout the year, which ones I liked, which ones I didn't, the ones that I kept, why I did, the ones that I didn't, why I got rid of them, that kind of stuff. So to start out, have my list here. First one I'm going to go over is and I should have a photo of them up here in the corner. The first one I'm going to go over is the Epiphone Thunderbird 60s vintage, the Thunderbird that I did the review of. The one that doesn't have the 3-screw bridge, the one that has the like tunematic style bridge, much preferred by the way. I did all of these on a scale of 1 to 5. So there are 4 categories, so the total is a maximum of 20. The scores come from comfort, as in its playability, things like the ergonomics, things like its balance, things like was the neck thin, thick, wide, narrow, things like that. So next one is parts. This is the specific components that went into it. For example, the 3-screw bridge that's on most of the Epiphone Gibson line, like the Thunderbirds or the EBOs or the SGs. I hate those. They're super difficult when you're trying to work with them to get everything set individually the way you want. But the tunematic style bridge is a much better bridge design, so it would have better score for the types of parts. Also, things like were the tuners that came with it good or not. Next was value. So this is what its typical retail price new or its typical market used price is compared to how much bass you get, or how good the quality is versus how much you're spending. And then whether or not it's still buyable today. There'll be some caveats with that based on anything that I did modifications to. But basically, it's whether you can still get that model either brand new, can you get it in the used market, or is it that it was a limited run kind of thing. So again, starting with the Thunderbird. For comfort, I gave it a 3. I love the look of a Thunderbird. I like the sound. The necks are narrow, and since it's a 4-string most of the time, until I get the one from Proper, eventually he's going to break down and send me his 5-string. But they're 4-string, they're narrow necks, but the string spacing isn't too tight at the bottom. But let's face it, the neck dive is a problem. It's their biggest problem. There's no reason to have a headstock that's almost the size of headless Steinberger. So they get docked on that. I did make, if you watch the video, the 3D printable bass arm for the Thunderbird to just use the strap button screws to attach to it, and then you put the strap button at the end of the horn, making it almost like a Strat horn, so that it will prevent that neck dive. That brings it to I don't do half scores, so that would bring it to still in the 3, maybe 4 range. They're comfortable basses, but there's no reason I need to reach as far out as my arm can go to get to the first couple of frets, and their ergonomics are awful. So I gave it a 3 overall, counting that I made that arm to kind of help with the problem. Parts, I gave it a 2. The one that I had was set up pretty well, but the tuners, there's no reason that when you have that bad of ergonomics that you choose to put heavy tuners. Like, the companies are choosing not to use something like a Wilkinson open gear small tuner, like a 3/8 tuner could go in that. You could use a lightweight tuner like a Resolite. You could use a Hipshot Ultralight. You could use a Wilkinson, a Goto. There are plenty of options out there that they could choose to put smaller lighter components that will still do the job, still have the aesthetic on the front. I understand some people want that classic look of a big tuner. There's no reason to do that. I'm docking them heavy on that because you already know your ergonomic design of the wood portion of the instrument is bad. There's no reason that you should also be putting extra weight on the end when you know you can effectively remove that. Value, give it a 3. It's right in the middle. If you want a Thunderbird, the 60s vintage one with the Tune-o-matic bridge is by far the better ones you can get. I believe the old Thunderbird Pros, like the 5-string that Proper needs to give me, I think those had a Tune-o-matic style bridge too. The 3 screw attach ones, you can get replacements for those to make them a good tuner and bridge setup kind of thing for intonation. Again, you can get the better tuners, but I believe this instrument retails in the 900 range. I think I got mine on sale for like $6. The value's there if that's what you want. If you're wanting a Thunderbird, you want a Thunderbird. Getting this particular model with the better bridge is a great choice because you'll have a better quality of life, so to say, with it. But again, you get what you get. You know what you're getting if you get one. If you're brand new, definitely try one. See if you have someone who has one that you know that you can borrow it for a while. I still love the looks of a Thunderbird, but there's a reason there's not one on my wall. It's because the ergonomics on them and because I want a 5-string. Looking at you, Prop. Anyway, last one, buyability. I give it a 4. You can still get them brand new, so they deserve a 5. The used market has plenty. There are a bunch of different, like, limited edition colors. If you don't care about the finish, you can definitely get one new. But I know that different finishes have had either limited runs or they've had availability problems. So it's the only bass you can still buy new that I'm giving a 4 because there are so many options for it that sometimes the one you might want is hard to get. I'm giving it a total of 12 out of 20. These are in no particular order, by the way. The next one is my 1505, Ibanez 1505 SMS EHB. This one has its own little caveat because of the neck swap that I did from the Wingay, I believe, neck to the Bird's Eye Maple neck that I swapped from a 1005 SMS. Shout out to Shannon who has that bass. Comfort, a 5. The EHB is by far, of any of the basses I've tried, their series is about the most comfortable thing I've tried. I like the multi-scale. It's not for everybody, but they make them without multi-scale. They're headless, and the weight is distributed wonderfully, so there's not neck dive you have to worry about. I mean, everything on the bass is designed with ergonomics in mind. They're very lightweight. They have a comfortable shape. It's not going to be something that's going to give you a dead spot on your leg. If you have it sitting to play, you can play them in a classical position if you want. Just everything about them is comfort based. It's all ergonomic design, hence ergonomic headless bass EHB. The parts, giving it a 5. I'm not a pickups kind of guy, an electronics guy. I put them in passive. I put the blend between both pickups, and I set my tone typically all the way open. That's all you get with me. So I don't care about Nordstrand versus the Bartolini. So I don't care about the Nordstrand versus the Bartolinis or any of that. Their headless tuning bridges are amazing. I've never used a headless system that I liked better. You can set string width, you can set string height, you can set your intonation, and they're all basically a mechanical way to set it. There's not like some of Ibanez's bridges where you have to manually move stuff. I hate that. We'll get into that later. But all of the components that they have, the only possible docking I would do from them is the string retainers being one single pin string retainer. I would have preferred if they did a 2-bolt string retainer, just because I always have the feeling that I need to tighten it just a little bit more so the string doesn't pull out, unravel, whatever. And I have sheared strings in half that way because I just cranked it until it wouldn't crank anymore, and the point that wouldn't crank anymore is when it had split the string. So that would be the only dock, but once you know what you're doing with it, once you've done a couple of string changes, you know what you're feeling for as far as tightness and holding the string. There are a couple other tricks you can do as well. So I'm giving them a 5 out of the components they use, the parts, whatever. They're great. Value, I love the EHBs. They are amazing, but the value on them is not perfect. When I started looking at different bases and exploring what I wanted out of bases, the EHB was the thing I gravitated toward. But when you're still basically a newer bass player, I mean, I played for years, but when you're a newer player or not a good player, it's hard to convince yourself to do the investment of how happy you'll be with the bass at that price range. The 1505, this particular one, I think they retail at like $1,800-$1,900. That's a lot. That is a lot of money. Now, granted, I got mine because it was an open box deal from Musician's Friend. It was said that it was in like perfect condition. I got it in. It had a couple of blemishes on the body, so they gave me a worked out a deal with me on that. So I got mine at a very reasonable price. I think when I got all said and done with mine, it was around $1,200-$1,300. That is an amazing value. Getting it, I would say, in the $1,400-$1,500 range for the 1505 SMS would be the sweet spot. But also, again, for me, the components don't matter, like the pickups and all that. I prefer on aesthetics. I did not rate any of these on aesthetics because that's 100% subjective. But like, I prefer the burl poplar top, and then I love it with the maple neck. But as it goes, I think they're $300 to $400 overpriced. If you can find one on the used market, if you can find an open box, things like that, absolutely, I think the value's there. But at $1,800, $1,900, I can't give them a 5. It's just a little too much. It is, again, my favorite bass that I have in my collection, but I can't give it that value. I would not have spent $1,800, $1,900 on it. I got it on the deal. That's why I got it. Lastly, buyable. This one has the caveat because you can buy the 1505 with the dark neck. I think it's Wenge. You can get it that way, and it's still going to be a great bass. I prefer with the maple neck, so at that point, value tanks because you got to buy 2 basses and swap the necks, and then maybe make some money back by selling the one that you put the darker neck on. Not worth it at that point at all. So in its current state, it's definitely buyable if you don't care, or if you prefer the darker neck than your set. Super buyable. Not buyable at all in this particular format unless you buy 2 and do the neck swap. So that's a 19 out of 20. The next one is the Ibanez BTB. I think it was 605 MLM was the white one that I had. I really loved the aesthetics on it. When I put the white gold labella tape wounds on it, it was great. It was beautiful. Comfort on it, a 4. It has the headstock. It is multi-scale, which I love, but it is a bit longer. The balance was okay, but of course not perfect because the headstock's there, the tuners are there. On the same point of comfort, kind of went hand in hand with parts. They did use the smaller, I think they were 3/8 tuners. The tuners were good, but again, at this point, you're talking $1,100-$1,200, not including something like Resolites, Ultralights, Wilkinson, something that's lightweight. They were closed gear tuners, so again, eventually you may have that problem where those start to go out and you can't really do anything to fix them, whereas open gear tuners, you can keep them lubricated and maintain them. If they start to shear, you should be able to get a gear to replace rather than having to replace the whole tuner. So parts, they get a 4 as well. The comfort would have been a 5 if it had the ultralight tuners where the balance wouldn't have had any neck dive. Again, I'm partial to headless for that reason. So comfort 4, parts 4. The gold aesthetic on it was super cool. I liked the gold tuning piece, the gold tuners, the gold bridge, the gold knobs. Everything on it looked cool. Personal note on aesthetics, again, it's completely subjective, but if the pickup covers hadn't been black, if they had been like a gold plastic cover or something like that, I think that would have made it just perfect on the aesthetic, because it was kind of weird having like 5 gold knobs, 2 little black switches, and then 2 big black pickups, and then white and gold everywhere else. Again, just personal opinion there. Value, give it a 3. It's a solid value. When I'm talking the new price, depending on used are usually in like the $950 range, so a couple $100 off. I think they're worth the money that you pay. It's not a huge bang for the buck, like, oh my gosh, you spend the money and you get double the bass. Anything in that $1,000 range, you expect to get a good bass, and that's what this is. It's a good bass. It's one of the few I got rid of I wished I had kept, but since I have a custom on the way, that's an all white finish with the hardware stuff, it would have just been, this is the commercial version, this is my custom version, more in the way that I like, and I know I wouldn't have played it much, if at all, so I did what I thought I should do, which was sell the bass to have the money to spend on other stuff. Buyable, 5. You can go to basically any retailer and buy one new right now. Total on that one, 16 out of 20. Next is the bigger brother of the MLM, the MS. The one that comes in, they say cerulean blue, but it's green and gray. Anyway, comfort, a little less on it. I gave it a 3. It is that like traditional Dingwall length multi-scale, goes from the 37 to I think 37 to 34. That extra length on the neck, plus again not ultralight tuners, made it slightly less comfortable. It had much more noticeable neck dive than the MLM. Again, 4 on parts. They could have done the better tuners, and that would have helped. Again, that would have been a 5 with the ultralight tuners, and the comfort would have gone up to a 4 because the neck dive wouldn't have been as bad. Value on that, I give, again, a 3. You know what you're getting if you're buying a 37-inch scale. On my personal side, the fact that no one makes a tape wound that fits that perfectly. The Labella Super Longs were about a ½ inch too short for the string to rest properly on the nut, so I had to do a little bit of jiggity pokery on that to get it to work. But the value on it's solid. It's a 3. If you want an ultra long scale 37-inch, again, I think 37 to 34, you absolutely have a good option here. Again, I think these run $1,300. On buyability, I'm giving it a 4. I bought mine through Musician's Friend, and everything was there. Like, there were new ones, there were open box, used, whatever. Now I'm only seeing them if they're used there. Other sites still have them new, so I don't know if maybe a listing got taken down. I'm not sure. But maybe that's something that's getting discontinued. Who knows? NAMM's coming. Maybe they're going to announce a new version. I'm not sure. But buyability on that, I'm giving it a 4 because I'm seeing some places that don't have it. So total on that one's 14 instead of 16 like the MLM. The next one is the Ibanez 505E. I believe that's the model number. I should have written them down, but I didn't. This is the one called Aurora Black, but the color of it's like a iridescent purple to green. Comfort, 4. It was a nice feeling bass. The balance was pretty good. I would have preferred multi-scale, but of course you can't have everything, especially at this price range. The only gripe I would have had on it for the comfort, again, lighter tuners are always good if it has a headstock, but it was exceedingly comfortable. I'm more comfortable on a multi-scale. I prefer no headstock, so that's the only dock that it got. As far as getting a 5-string bass, awesome. Parts, though, this is the bass that had a fatal flaw to me. If you watch the review video, if you look at the pictures, biggest warning I can give is this bass is awesome. It looks great. It plays nice. But the place they put the jack, having that weird, almost straight in, front-faced angle with the carve out, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. The bridge, the tuners, all the stuff on it was good. But that jack input was awful. I use a wireless system. I didn't have a wireless system. The one I normally use couldn't plug into it. I ended up getting like adapters that were like a 1-foot extension cable so I could plug in my wireless system, and then it's just hanging down, flopping everywhere while I'm trying to play. If that one had had a normal jack, even if it had the dumb locking jack that Ibanez does, I don't dock them for it because it has its pros, it has its cons. But even their dumb locking jack, had it been on the side, or I prefer the jack on the front, like this hole's on the front, but it's at a weird angle. I prefer them on the front because then I can see my wireless system. I can turn it on, turn it off, see if the battery's dying, any of that. Even if they put their dumb locking jack on the side. The jack killed that bass for me. I would still have that bass. Like, the price on it was great. I would still have that bass if it weren't for the jack where it was. And yes, I know I could have done a little bit of work and carved it back out. I could have unrecessed the jack. I'm not doing luthier work. I'm not doing guitar tech work on a bass of this price and risk doing something to ruin it, or at least its value of getting rid of it, just so I can try to make it better for me. If it was something I cared about that much, I would have just used a cable for it all the time, or tried to find a wireless system that worked with it. I liked the bass. It was a great bass. I enjoyed it. Again, I loved the looks of it. The one I had was beautiful, but for what it was and how little I was going to play it just because of that one irksome thing, I wasn't going to have anything to do with it. So parts gets a 2. Value, 4. If the jack does not matter to you, this thing is better than what I would expect out of that price range. It's a great bass, plays nice, feels good, looks great. I don't give it a 5 because still new. They normally go in like the 700-800 range. I got mine on sale, I think for $5 or $5.50. It was one of their big deal sales with Musician's Friend. So I got it on a really good deal. It was a 5 out of 5 that day. If you're getting it around the $500-600, I'd definitely say it's worth it if you don't care about the jack. If you're getting it in that 700 to 900 range I've seen it in, not really. 900's too high. I would say it's like a 2 at the 900 range, but I normally see it 700 to 800. I give it a 3 there. If you can get it under 800 in the 7 range or lower, 3 to 4 points out of that. Buyability, 5. Everyone sells them. Everyone has them. I've never seen them out of stock. So there you go. That gives it a 15 out of 20. Next is my EHB 1505 MS, the larger multi-scale. I think it goes from 35 and a half to 34, I think is the scale length. I'm probably wrong. Very similar to the 1505 SMS. Give it a 5 for comfort, 5 for parts. I give it a 4 for value. I prefer the shorter scale. That is just my preference. I like the short multi-scale better than the longer or medium multi-scale, whatever you want to call the range that it is. Value, I give it a 4. They're 1,500 new, typically. You might catch it on a deal. You can get used ones. The 1505 series you can get in the 1,200 range. That's a good value. Again, they were what I strove for. The blue one is beautiful, and with the dark neck, it looks great. It's my second favorite base I have. The caveat why it gets a 4 and not a 5 is because, again, to a newer player, an intro player, that's a lot of money to spend, especially if you've not played one before. I don't know how someone wouldn't like them, but some people won't. Some people don't like multi-scale. Some people don't like headless. Those people just have bad taste. But as it goes, I can't give it a 5 for value because once you are over $1,000, I expect everything on a base to be good over $1,000. At $500, I expect everything to be just good. Like, I might have a complaint here or there, could use better tuners, could use a better bridge, that kind of stuff. At $1,000, I pretty much expect that a base should have the components that it needs to be a great base. And at that point, it's just a matter of style and finish. So if you can get one of these sub $1,200 all in, tax, shipping, and all that, awesome value. I would say $1,200 is what gets this at a 5 out of 5. Much like the SMS, of course, not counting the neck swap, same thing. I don't think you should have to pay more to get a short multi-scale. I don't think that makes sense. Like, to me, you've got a non-treated color-wise base versus a treated color base. The scaling is slightly different. I don't see why that's worth more. So 4 out of 5, they both get a 19 out of 20 because I prefer the short multi-scale. I would pay a little more for it, and I'm sure that's why Ibanez charges more, because someone would pay more. But on the whole, that's the difference for me. They both get a 19 out of 20 because it's still buyable. You can buy those brand new basically anywhere. The next one on the list is the Court A5. I think it's SCMS. I think it's single cut multi-scale. Now this is the older version. The new one is called the A5 Beyond, which has the Babinga top. This is the one that's like, I don't know how you pronounce it, spalted maple. I don't know. There were a couple of finishes, one gray and one the more natural. This is basically what mine looked like. Comfort 4. It did have hip shot ultralights installed. It had the hip shot. I don't know what they are. They're basically a knob that almost has like a rubber O-ring on it, and they're super comfy. Got good with rubber. You have the good grip, but it doesn't feel like you're being stuck to it. It was a comfortable base. The multi-scaling wasn't super drastic. The balance on it was okay. I like a single cut aesthetically. It puts more weight on the strap side as opposed to the neck side. However, on its parts, even though it had the hip shot ultralights, I'm giving it a 3 because the bridge pieces were the ones I hate. They were you gotta move your string spacings manually. If I remember right, they were you had to scoot the intonations yourself forward and backward. I think those didn't have the mechanical. If I'm wrong, I'll put a thing here about how wrong I am. The pickups, they were pickups. It went into passive mode. That's all I needed. But the bridge was something I didn't like, and for lack of putting it somewhere else, it could have been in comfort, could have been in parts. You could put 1 to 3 and 1 to 4 either way, was the string spacing. I had it maxed out on string spacing. I had the heaviest and lightest gauge strings all the way to the side, and then I evened out with what would be strings 2 and 4 so that the spacing was as even as possible. And I think the most you can get out of it's like 16 and a half, maybe 17 millimeters worth of string spacing. It was way too tight to me. I mean, I like the 19 millimeter spacings that I have. I try and set my stuff as wide as possible so I have the most room to put my fingers where I want. If this one could have had a wider string spacing, like at least medium 17 and a half with them wider, or preferably at least 18, I would have still kept it. It was a good looking bass. I really liked the finish. I liked the colorations. It was a good motif going on. Again, I love a single cut if it's done right. But I just, the string spacing was too tight for me to want to play it a lot. Value, 3. The Beyond, I want to say, runs $1,400 new. That's a little higher than what I would. I like the Babinga top, the whole cohesiveness of it. I'm not super a fan, but again, it still has that too narrow of string spacing. And then this particular model, you have to look online and find it used. And when you find them used, they're usually still in the 1,100-1,200, so it's not a huge savings over getting the newer version. I give it a 3. If you get what you pay for out of this guy, it's not a, oh hey man, you're getting so much more for what you're paying. It's not like that 505E. It's not a, hey, this is punching above its price range in quality or what it offers. This one, you get what you pay for. The price range is about right for what you get. Again, with wider string spacing, I would have liked it more, so I would have given it a better value. But as it is, you get what you pay for. If you're looking for a single cut multi-scale, this is about what you got on the market to find. Buyability, the Beyond, the A5 Beyond with the Babinga top, you can find it. It's available. Places have it for sale. This one is a retired model, discontinued, however you want to put it. So finding it is not easy. There are usually a couple of listings, but again, when there's only 2 or 3 listings of something, they kind of command the market at that point of, okay, I'm going to list it for $1,200 because I have one and other people don't. Maybe they'll buy it. So 15 out of 20, caveat of only if you're wanting the newer version with the Babinga top. Next is the Ibanez, I think it's the BTB 865 SCGLMNOP. I don't remember. I think it's 865. It's this one. The one with the weird black partial treatment on the front with the natural wood on the side, but then the back is a beautiful red. Don't know why they did the front black when they could have done it that red. It would have been awesome, cohesive, and beautiful. Comfort, 5. I have very few skills when it comes to slap, and that is the bass that was the easiest for me to do slap. If I wanted to practice trying a slap technique, that was the bass I grabbed. It was heavy. I mean, it's a big single cut 5-string bass, but man, if I'm willing to put up with something heavy, it was this bass. I got rid of it, as we'll talk about with parts. I gave it a 3. The bridge pieces were good. Again, could have used lighter tuners. The thing was heavy as it was, but the shape was decent to help against neck dive. I really liked the shape of it. Parts, I also count. Again, aesthetics are all subjective, but again, the black, had it been the same red as the back, or even if they'd taken the black and put it on the back where the red was. But the red that was on the back's gorgeous. Like, they should have put that on the front and then had the headstock to match. It would have been a beautiful, cohesive unit. It was super comfy. I would have preferred multi-scale, but hey, you can't have everything. It had the weird locking jack. But the thing for personally me that I didn't like was it had no passive option. And anyone who's seen my stuff knows I love passive. I don't want to deal with an EQ. I don't want to deal with, okay, is that exact? I feel like I don't get option paralysis because that's an anxiety thing that I just don't understand. But like, I want to just go passive so I don't have to have options. I don't want to have those options tonally, because then I'm just going to be sitting here going, I guess, chasing the tone. I know I can make this sound a little better. But then the next time I play, I might have had everything dialed in, and it's like, this doesn't sound how good I thought it sounded before, and then I'm still going to play with all the settings. So there was no passive option. I asked around on Low End Lobster's Discord, hey, anybody got any easy ways that I can like change this mid-frequency switch instead of that being there, making it a passive switch? And it was basically the option I had was to pull the electronics and put in my own. For the value on that bass, I personally would swap it to EMG soap bars, as they're easy to install and they're passive. I can just do that, poof, there we go, I'm done. But looking at the photo, because I can't remember, it had two larger knobs, the EQ knobs, and then the switch. So swapping out for EMG, I could have done either volume, blend, tone, volume, tone. So there would have been 3 knobs. And then that's it. Like there wouldn't have been anything else. So I would have either had producer knobs or that's it. Like there would have been holes in the bass, or there would have been knobs that did nothing. Personally, on the aesthetic, I probably would have tried to swap out the EQ knobs just so I knew those were the knobs that worked and the other 2 didn't. But again, either way, then there would have been a switch that did nothing. I didn't want to ruin the value of the instrument. I'm not a collector. I'm not a reseller. My financials and basses have not been on the up forever because I buy gear. I try it. If I like it, I keep it a while. If I really like it, I keep it forever, apparently, like my EHBs. But no, like my financial decision making on basses is not the best. But I wasn't going to pull all the electronics. I don't like soldering. I feel like I'm not good at it, so I don't even try it. That's why I love EMG. And plus they have a sound that I enjoy. So I was not going to pull all the electronics and then put in the other stuff, spending another couple $100 to upgrade it, in my opinion, to a passive system. And then if I ever went to sell it, it might be worth the same thing, but I spent even more money on it. To me, again, this gets a 3 for value. You get what you pay for. It's a great bass. This is one of the few that I consider, because I could just go get it back. It's still at the local music shop I work with. I still consider going to get it back to put in the EMG stuff, but I know that if I get it, it's not going to get played a lot, even though it's comfortable. So that's why I don't have it still. The multi-scale and passive, if it had those, this bass would have never left. But it didn't, so value of 3. Buyable, 5. You can get them everywhere. Every major retailer has them. You find them used quite a bit. If you can get this bass in the $600-700 range somehow, buy it. It's great. Anything over that, again, value 3. Total 16 of 20. Next was my LTD Stream in Honey Natural Finish. Comfort 4 does have the neck dive. The one I had Hipshot Ultralights installed. I don't know if they come that way because I got mine used. Again, on parts of 4, had the ultralights. The bridge was good. The original electronics in mine were messed up. So when I dealt with the company bass shop out of Seattle, great people, check them out. We worked out a deal when I bought it. I got it very inexpensive, so its value in my case was a 4. I guess you could say the value for mine was a 5 because one of the pickups went out. They gave me a good partial refund so that I could get the pickups fixed and installed and all that good stuff. So it went to EMG HZs and passive. There was one producer knob because there used to be a switch, but the switch had been changed out for a knob, so I just left a knob there. And it went EMG HZs and passive, so it had a volume, and tone. Comfort good, had neck dive, but the shape's really cool. I mean, it's almost, I think it's a better, more fluid design of a Thunderbird, where Thunderbirds are, I mean, they're like a set neck or they're a neck through. And then they have the more narrow wings to, I guess, help reduce weight. This one, I believe, this one was a bolt-on, but the shape is, to me, cooler. I mean, again, aesthetics, whatever. I liked the honey finish. It looked nice. Again, I give it a 4 on parts because I don't know what the originals are like, so I'm just rating mine that had EMGs, hipshot ultralights, and a nice bridge. I would have liked to have upgraded the bridge to something that I could have adjusted string spacing slightly, but that, I mean, it still gets a 4. Value on it's a 3. If you understand you're getting a Thunderbird-esque shape, you're going to have Thunderbird-esque neck dive. You get what you get. Value is a 3. I got mine, I think when all was said and done, mine cost about $700 plus the hardware for the pickups. So I think I paid $850 total. Definitely worth it. I would say mine was closer to a 4 or 5 in value at that point. You can find them used. They're usually in the $700 to $800 range. That's worth it. If you're getting one of the new ones, they don't have the honey anymore. I think it's like a black finish. There's one that's even cooler looking, but it's like way expensive. But you get what you pay for. Again, buyability on these is a 2. They don't make them anymore, but I see them, the honey finish, come up every now and then. There are other versions of it that are still available. That's why it's not a 1. But they come along on the used market. If you're looking for one, you'll probably find one in a few months if that's what you're trying to find. 13 out of 20. The next one is the Schecter Stiletto. This was my Stiletto, the one that I chopped the head off of it, put some cheap Chinese headless tuners on the bottom, and milled out so there was room to do the adjustments. You'll notice that there's a difference here. I have played the Stiletto Custom. I didn't do a video on it because I had one and I never recorded a video because I ended up selling it. The original, the headless one, is the one listed first, and then the original is the number after the colon. So the headless version, Comfort 4. It made it more comfortable taking off the headstock. Gave it better balance. The original version of it, 3. It's the base you would expect to have. It's a 5-string. It's got a headstock. Comfort's okay. Parts, the stuff I put on it was cheap. I think I got the whole tuner set and everything for like $60 from AliExpress or Temu or wherever. It's some Chinese place that I ordered it from because I could get it cheap. As such, those parts were not the best of quality, so you get what you get. 2. The original one, 3. The bridge were the kind of bridge pieces I don't care for. The tuners were basic tuners. It's everything you would expect on a base of that price range. Value on the one I made, a 2. It's because I think I sold it for like $100 or $200. I had as much, if not more, in parts than what the base was worth. So a 2. If you want a cheap headless that, I mean, it played okay, it sounded okay, but it didn't look good. It was a home rigged headless bass. So value 2. The original 3. Very middle of the road. You pay for it. The price on them for new ones is okay. The used ones go for a decent price. There you go. And then buyable, the headless, I should give it a 0, but I gave it a 1 because I don't believe in zeros because that means it's non-existent. It's floating around out there. Somebody's got it. They might have used it for kindling by now or just stole the parts off of it to put on something else. The headless one, none. The new ones, 5. Everywhere sells them. You can get them. So for the headless, we get a 9 out of 20. For the original, 14 out of 20. Next is my Harley Benton. I think it's the JP405P was the model number. This was the one that was fully roasted. I think even the body was roasted on the one that I had. It was very consistent looking. It's a PJ. So comfort, again, I did a lot of mods to this one, so that's why it has a double score. Comfort 5 either way. It was a 4-string. It didn't have neck dive. The design on it, I know Harley Benton ripped it off. I think it was like of an Aria Pro or something like that. Super comfortable. Of all the 4 strings I had, that was the one I held on to the longest. It was the one I wanted to get rid of the least, but I prefer a 5-string, and I just didn't play it that often because it wasn't a 5, so I let it go somewhere better. Parts on the original. This one is original. I confused myself, so this chart is off by one. The original, I give parts a 4. So down here where it says total versus original, swap that. Total is the custom one. The original, I give a 4. The tuners were the only real downside. The bridge wasn't bad. I just don't care for the weird flat metal L with the bridge pieces. The bridge pieces, saddles were nice, like the brass ones. They look good. I swapped it out for an Omega bridge, which I was much happier with. Swapped out the tuners for Hipshot Ultralights, which made me much happier as the weight reduction was worth it. And then I swapped out the pickups that were in it. The ones I had were kind of noisy. That's why I gave it a 4. They weren't bad, but there was some noise to it. And then I swapped it out for EMG Geezer Butlers, which I was exceedingly happy with. Value either way, 5 out of 5. The original price was, I think, sub $200. You can't beat that. That base was amazing for that price. It's basically, if you doubled the original price, it was probably still a really good value. Maybe a 4, maybe a 5. With the upgrades I did to it, the ultralights cost like $60 to $80. The bridge was like $40 or $50, and the pickups I think cost $150. So I had as much in parts in the base as the base cost, and it was still a home run. For me, it was the best 4-string base. If I still preferred 4 strings instead of 5s, or if I could have gotten this base as a 5-string with the same changes, looking at you, Bully, for that one that you have, if you ever decide to, get rid of it, let me know. 5-string version of that, I've looked. I haven't found one yet. If I come across one that's a 5-string, I'm probably buying it so that I can, if it has a passive mode, I don't care if I can swap the pickups to another brand. It doesn't matter. But if I can get a 5-string, I'm going to put probably a kick-ass bridge, because I have decided that I love Hipshot's kick-ass bridge better than even that Omega that I had. And then the Hipshot Ultralight tuners, and then that thing's here and it's not going anywhere. So the original is a 15 out of 20. After my changes, 16 out of 20, just because I feel, at least with the hardware upgrades, that I made an improvement. Next is the Sire Z7. Been on a lot of people's list. Comfort, I give it a 4. Some people don't like that shorter horn. They say it's less comfortable. I didn't have a problem with that per se. The parts on it, I give a 3. I might have an unpopular opinion here, but I don't like the looks of those bridges. Again, that's partially the aesthetics and partially also functionality, because I can't easily swap the bridge to something else when it has that Stingray-esque big flat portion on the bottom. So parts, I give a 3. It's been discussed before. Low End Lobster mentioned it. The tuners were not, in mine's case on the Z7, the tuners were hard to articulate. Like turning them, I sometimes felt like, okay, something caught here, but then when I'd put a little more oomph, it was just tight and hard to turn. I tried lubricating, it didn't seem to help. So the parts could have been better. I didn't find any real problems with the pickup that I had. It's just the one that I had overall was not good, and that's why I sent it back. Value on them, I know people were hailing it as the second coming of the Stingray. It was going to be the Ernie Ball killer. I give it a 3. The Z7 I give a 3. It's like, I think it is punching a little above its price range compared to other stuff, but when I see other YouTubers who have had some problems with theirs, and for me it personally didn't live up to the amount of hype that I was led to believe it should have garnered, I give it a value of 3. It's a great option. If you're comparing it, if you're trying to compare it apples to apples, like against, say, Sterling Ray 24, which I preferred my 24 to my 34 when I had them. If you're comparing it to a 24, I'll give them even shots to each other. If you're comparing it to a 34, the 34 I had was garbage. The tuners stripped out. The finish was very faded and just not good. You had to have it in like direct freaking sunlight in order to see any of the coloration of the poplar burl. The one I had was just bad. So I would give it kudos over the Ray 34 series, at least the poplar series, like the burl top. But overall, I give it a value of 3. If I'm buying something for $700-800, this I expect to get as good of a base as what this would have been if the one that I hadn't been bad. Buyable, I gotta give it a 2. You can't, if there's a color of one that you want, I still have a Z3 5-string in black sparkle on back order. Sire seems to, at least if it's, I don't know if it was from before, but they seem to have a problem with, we're going to release a thing, and it could be, I don't want to say anything to make it sound negative. It could be intentional that they are keeping demand high by artificially causing supply to be low. It does sound crazy, but it's a proven tactic. If you have a product that a bunch of people want, you can either make a bunch of that thing, sell them all, and have it done, and you're good, and then you'll have trickling sales after, or you can have less supply to keep the demand high, and then you'll continue to get decent sales rather than a huge spike at the beginning. I personally think part of it is because of the neck change, where they went from the 3-in-1 to the 4. I think they had all the bodies ready, and I think they had to mill a bunch of necks, and I think they're just still trying to get those new necks in there and connected to the bodies that they already had while still producing new bodies and new necks. That's my theory. But that doesn't explain why my F10 that I ordered when they became available is still on back order as well. So who knows? So 2 on buyability gives them a 12 out of 20. Next is the Jackson Spectra Pro that I got from Bully the Kid. Comfort 4, your typical 5-string. It does have a nice feel to it. I'm happy I got it from him, mostly to assemble my Infinity Gauntlet of bases. But Comfort's a 4. Could it be better if it was headless? Yes. Could it be better if I swapped those tuners for Hipshot Ultralights? I might do that in the future. So, good comfort. Parts, give it a 3. It could use lighter tuners, but I think everything should have ultralight tuners or be headless. So, again, you've heard that as a repeat scratched record of me today. I don't like the bridge pieces. These are like what I've said before. I don't care for bridge pieces that don't have all mechanical adjustment. I would like to always have the ability to change string spacing just as an option. I think it should be there as a default. So parts a 3. It's what you expect. It's what I got. I'm not upset. I'm not super happy. Either way. Value a 3. Now, value on this one, priceless, because it came from my dear friend Bully. Also, because he sold it to me for what he would have gotten for it out of selling it at Guitar Center. They told him a price. He said, I'll sell it to you for that price. I pay shipping. We're golden. So I got mine as a 5 out of 5. But on the whole, I think they run like 900. I don't think that's a great value. I think 7-ish would be a fair, good value for the bass that would put it in the 4 or 5 range. So if you can find it on sale, definitely I think it'd be worth it. If you got that bass for if you got it for $700, all included, tax, shipping, and everything, I think you got yourself a good deal. Anything lower than that, you got a great deal. Buyable, 5. You can get them. They're available. Everybody's got them. 15 out of 20. Next out of the Infinity Gauntlet of basses is my 1005F EHB. Got it from my friend Sono. So, comfort, I'm giving it a 3. Oh my gosh, why? It's headless. It's because it's a fretless. I'm not a fretless player. It's the comfort level for me. I can play it, but the whole be wee 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 any of that stuff, that's not me. I got it because it's a headless EHB bass. It has the cool rich light fingerboard. It's a 5-string, and my friend Sono gave me an awesome deal on it, so that's why I went for it. I have it in the event I ever decide to play a headless fretless bass. There you go. It's the only fretless bass I'll ever have. I can tell you that. Parts, again, just like the others, 5 out of 5. The tuners are the same kind of tuners. The electronics are there. Pickups don't matter. It has a passive switch. The only dock, again, would be the string retainers at the top, but once you know what you're doing, you're fine. Value on them on the whole, I'm giving a 3. I'm not a fretless player, so the value of the fretless is low for me anyway, but I look at it and I go, okay, the rich light fingerboard's cool. Like, I like the color matched almost rich light fingerboard. I think that it would be really neat if most other places used that. If it's a green material and you could get it in the color you want, but of course most things don't want a solid color like you kind of do on a fretless. I would have liked on it to have had lines. I think that would have been nice to, or at least something to indicate what fret you're on. On the sides, it has lines for each fret, and then it has dots for your typical 3/5 and all that. I wish if they hadn't done it fully lined, that for the lines on the side, they're probably a 1/4 inch. I wish they had done it a 1/4 inch onto the fretboard. So like when they made it, instead of just cutting the line on the side of the neck, I wish they'd done it at an angle so that there was a line that went in. So while you're looking at it, you can also see where you are in line without a line going all the way across, if that makes sense. That's what I would have preferred, but whatever. Value, again, a 3. I don't have a huge amount of value for a fretless. It was an EHB that I wanted that I didn't have that was 5-string, and I got it from my friend Sono. Value for mine, awesome. Sono got it for $600. I paid him a bit more than that, plus the shipping, so we were good. So the value on mine was $500, or not $500, it was $5. But buying them new, buying them used, the prices on them seem to stay pretty solid. If you want a headless, fretless, unlined bass, this is the thing that you probably want. So I think the value would be higher for somebody like that. But on the whole, I give it a 3. Buyable, 5. You can still get them. You can get the 5-string, the 4-string, you can get them new, you can get them used. Places have them in stock. 16 out of 20. Next is my AliExpress Anchor. Definitely looks like this. This is the one that it ripped off. I figured I'd just throw that in there so people could see what it was supposed to look like. There's also a multi-scale version, but this was the best picture I could find. The one in the picture is by a company called Overload, and the model is the Achilles. You can find their website. They have a cool custom option and stuff too. I just threw this up there because I didn't want to take a picture of that because I don't have very good photography skills for like digital stuff with backdrops or any of that. I don't have a backdrop for any of it, so I did what I could. Comfort 2. I did some modifications to it to change it out to EHB tuners, so that I could get rid of the janky ones that were on there. I ended up putting those on the Stiletto. It is heavy. I weighed it. It's over 11 pounds. There's no reason a headless bass should be over 11 pounds. Shouldn't be over 9 pounds. Comfort 2. It's heavy, but it's doable. Parts, I'm giving it a 3 because of the EHB tuners I put on there. When I got it, I don't know how. I'm pretty sure they put the strings in and then bolted down the string retainers because they are so close to where the nut was that there was no way to get new strings into the nut. And there's room for the string retainers to have been farther back. So I think that, like, when I ordered mine, I asked for a few customizations done, and the person did it. So I presume that it wasn't their standard setup. So if those string retainers were moved back, like if ever the time comes that I work on it again, I'll probably take the string retainers and move them to the closest to the end of the neck I can, where I don't feel like the strings are going to break anything from the tension pulling against the retainers. But if they'd been moved back a quarter inch, a half inch would have made a big difference. So I had to remove the plastic nut that was on it. Everything on the base, like the electronics, work great. I swapped it out to the EHB tuners because they're so much better, and because I found a set of them for super cheap. So I also wanted to do the Stilet project. So I thought, well, I might as well put the crappy tuners on the one that I know I'm not going to keep, and then put the better tuners on the one that I'm almost probably going to keep. So parts, I gave it a 3 just because of that. The string retainers are the ones I like that have 2 screws. It's weird that you have to have 2 sizes of hex key to turn them, or Allen wrench, whatever you want to call it. There's a bigger and a smaller, so you have to have 2 tools in order to do the string change. That's kind of weird to me, but whatever. Value, I'm going to give it a 2. If you don't mind the weight and you were to go on AliExpress and find this and order it, you're getting, I think it costs like $300-400. Is it as good as other stuff you can get for $300 to $400? No. But if you want something headless, multi-scale, and you don't want to spend a bunch of money, you could get it. It's okay. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not great, and it's not even good. So 2. Buyable. The only place you're going to get this is through AliExpress. It's not on Temu. I think it's just a seller on AliExpress. If you search 5-string headless bass, the picture looks like the picture here, but it's all gray in the picture. I asked for mine to be like a dark brown. I'd asked for it to be like a green, and the guy couldn't do that. So he'd said he could do it with like a sticker. I presume he meant like a decal or a wrap. So I said, okay, just make it a dark stain so the body matches the neck, and he did that pretty well. I presume it was a he. I could be wrong. So 2 out of 9 there. So the nicest it gets is a 9 out of 20. Next is my Explorer kit base. This is not a picture of the same kit. I don't think it might be. It was the closest thing I could find. This one has the like slightly almost roasted, like a light roast neck, instead of the picture here that has the darker fretboard. Sorry for the quality on the words. This is a very small picture. Again, I didn't have a backdrop where I could take a decent photo of this, so I just found what was closest to it. This one has like larger soap bar pickups. They're centered differently, but hey, it's the closest thing. Comfort, give it a 3. If you want to play an Explorer 5-string bass, there you go. It's going to be exactly what you expect. On this particular example, for the parts, it has a nice Goto bridge that has all the adjustments. Now, the string width on this one is adjustable and it's manual, but it's like a worm gear situation. So to change it, you have to detune the string and loosen it, and then you just kind of roll the saddle piece and it goes down the screw, the bolt, whatever you want to call it, like a worm drive almost. So you align it that way. This one wasn't aligned perfectly, or the neck isn't aligned perfectly, one or the other, so I did have to like slide the strings over, but since I had that option, it's fine. It also has the nice light Goto tuners. Whoever put this together put nice components on it, so it gets a 4. Value, I got it for $250. I was trading some stuff in, so I got a $50 discount. So all in all, if you want to look at it of value, I got it for like $200. Can't beat that. That thing is great. If you're fine with an Explorer body and you want a 5-string, this thing's everything you need. I did have to 3D print, well, have my wife 3D print a nut, because it has the Jackson style headstock, so all of the strings like shoot to the side, especially the G, and the nut broke at the G string retention. So I had to go in, design a new nut, and 3D print a nut. I printed it a little deeper, I guess you could say, and made it slightly taller to hold the strings a bit better, and it's held just fine. Been a great job. Buyable, it's a 1. It's a kit base. You would have to buy a kit. You'd have to do all the work and stuff yourself, so it's not available. There's this one. You want to pay me about $500, I'll sell it to you. Next is I got the screenshot from the place where I ordered this. Now this picture is of a guitar. I'm terribly sorry, but I didn't, again, have a way of doing mine. Now this is, of course, I guess I should have mirrored the image, but then you couldn't read the place where I got it. This is my Zebrano mistake. I did it as a reverse. There'll be a video on it that I'll record if I haven't done that already. It has custom inlays that look like a Volk nut. If you look up Viking Volk nut, you'll see it's 3 triangles interlocked. It's a reverse Explorer in mine's case. It came with a big zigzag pick guard that I had to chop down because they didn't route the pickup cavity for a Music Man. They routed it for a Thunderbird. The neck they did wrong. They only put like 2 inches worth of pocket for the neck, so I had to route that out, and I did that horribly. But it all got put together. It plays, and it has an EMG HZMM, the Music Man passive pickup, so it sounds pretty good. I threw a kick-ass bridge and hipshot ultralights on it, so for its comfort, it's a 3. It's exactly what you would expect out of a reverse Explorer. Sitting on your leg, it's not that comfortable. If you're standing, okay, it's fine. The extra length of the reversed now arm on the back helps. Basically, there is no neck dive on the thing. Parts, 5 out of 5 because of what I put on it. The kick-ass bridge, the hipshot ultralights, and the EMG. Those are the things that make the wood a nice base in my mind. Value, 1. I think I paid like $250 for the wood, and then the components, I think the bridge was $60 to $70, the tuners were I think $70 to $80, and then the pickup I want to say was in the $150. So I've got like at best case $250 in components, maybe $300, and then the wood. They gave me a partial refund because they made the neck backwards and the pocket being wrong and all of that. So I best case scenario, I could have $450. Worst case scenario, I could have $450 to $500 in it. Is it worth that? Absolutely not. It is the worst value of any of the things that I have. But I put in the custom order more than a year ago. It took them a long time to get it fabricated, and then it took a long time for it to ship because I wasn't going to pay for air shipping, so it had to come over on a shipping ship, so it took a long time. So it's by far the lowest value. Buyable for that is a 1. I mean, you could choose to order one if you wanted. Pango Music, I think it's guitarkit.shop is their website. You could definitely order one like it. If you want to order one like it, message me. I'll sell that thing to you. I'll sell it to you for $400, and it's already put together. And again, it's got $300 worth of components. As of now, it sits there so that if my kids ever decide they want bass lessons again, because they did when they were younger, and then they realized, oh, I have to practice and actually learn stuff. I can't just pick it up and be Victor Wooten. It's here as my throwaway bass. If my kids want to learn here, it's uncomfortable, it's heavy, you're going to learn to play on this 4-string because I don't want you messing up any of my other stuff. Next is one I still have, which is my, I think it's Hadeen, I don't know, Hadean. It's a uke bass. Looks kind of like this. I don't know if it's the same one. I searched, and it was the one closest to what I could find, because again, I didn't take my own photo. This is just someone else's crappy photo. Comfort, it's a uke bass. It gets a 3. It's super short. It has a big body and then just short little stub of a neck. Parts, I gave it a 4. I haven't had any problem with any of the parts on it. It's set up nice. I haven't changed the rubber strings because I don't really I hate the strings. I hate the rubber strings. But everything I've read online says it is not going to stay intact if I put anything else on it, even my beloved tape wounds. So I'm getting to where the rubber strings are starting to get lapped on top of themselves on the tuner, so I'm wondering if I should change the strings or if I just need to like unwind it and cut them a little shorter and put them back. I don't know. But parts, I gave it a 4. Seems like they're pretty good. Value, 5. I got mine for, I think, $150, something like that. I took something in that I was hoping to get like $150, and they traded me for it. So, yay. I play it if I just want to go out and sit and noodle around. We have a tradition in our family that while the Christmas tree gets put up, I used to sit and play piano because we used to have our piano in the same room. Now that it's in its own music room with all the basses in here where I record, and the Christmas tree's in a different room, I took it out there and sat and played it because it's audible to the point, even though I know I have a battery-powered portable amp, I just didn't feel like I was too lazy to unplug it from all of my other stuff and then carry it in the other room. So I took it. When we went to the hospital the last time for my son's throat surgery, he wanted me to bring a bass to play him. He wanted me to play him bass. So I brought that because it's audible and I don't have to carry around a bass in a bag and an amp and all that. It was one single thing. So it has its uses. Buyable, I haven't been able to find that model anywhere. You can get uke basses. Thomann has them. I don't think they're Harley Benton brand, but they have some cheap ones. You can get cheap uke basses. This one I haven't had any problems with, so I like, again, value's great for it to me. It could be the worst one in the world. I don't know. It's the only one I've ever really played. But viability on that one, not great. Haven't seen it anywhere else. So 13 out of 20. That, I believe, concludes the entirety of the collection. I didn't talk about the Explorer guitar that I have because it's not a bass. I didn't put anything together for it, but I mean, it's a guitar, it's an Explorer, it doesn't have neck dive, so as far as comfort, I love an Explorer. I've never played a headless guitar, so there you go. It's good. Fretboard's super pretty. So that's what I have. I thought about doing a components video of things like all the wireless systems I have, but I already did a thing about the gear that I use. I haven't replaced anything else, and I basically have videos set for anything else that I would have talked about in a wrap-up, and I usually don't remember what's released or not because I do most of my sets of videos in batches. So that's the stuff that I've had this year, or that I've done videos on at least. There were plenty of other basses I had, but if I didn't do a video on it, I wasn't going to do a discussion here. Sorry if the video is long. I don't know how on YouTube to do the chopping points to say which bass is which, and I'm too lazy to go through this and put down which bass is at which time slot. So if someone feels like doing that, go ahead. There you go. So, in a wrap-up, these are the ones I still have. This side, the 5-string, great value. Don't see any reason I'd get rid of it unless I was going to break even or make money on it. The other two, if someone would pay me a break-even price, I'd get rid of them. Otherwise, I just know they're not worth what someone would give me. And these ones are either part of my Bass Infinity Gauntlet, or they're my EHBs that I love. The custom one is coming. I'll have multiple videos on that. I have thought about doing a revisit on some of these basses now that the audio quality could be better. I'm trying to come up with a, I guess you could say, a general script of what things I need to talk about in what order so that it can be a little more cohesive. And yes, all of the comments I've gotten about you make long videos and you don't even play. I'm going to start doing playing videos. I don't know why you guys want that. I call myself the okayest bassist for a reason. I'm not a good player. But if that's what you guys want, that's fine. There's almost 100 of you now. So, hey, why not? I already made a promise to Bully the Kid at the point if I ever hit 200 subscribers. I will try and do videos with multiple camera angles, one from where you guys are now with the full view of the bass wall, and then another one I'll use my second phone, and I'll try and have something closer up to see the instrument that I'm holding. So going from there you go. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a wonderful day.